Sveiki sugrįžę į ultraetikos pasaulį. Naujas pasaulis yra ultraetika. Ultraetika išgelbėjo pasaulį. Ultraetika išgelbėjo pasaulį. X faktorius mano pasaulis mano, kai sugrioviau pasaulį pats. Tai išradau naują, išgelbėjau pasaulį. Kuris pavadintas ultraetika. Dabar pasaulio niekas nepaiims, ir niekas nesugriaus, nes jis pavadintas ultraetika, nes jis yra ultraetika. Niekas nepaiims dabar pasaulio, niekas nesugriaus dabar pasaulio, nes jis yra ultraetika. Ultraetikos niekas nepaiims. Ultraetika išgelbėjo pasaulį. Naujas pasaulis ultraetika. Niekas nepaims dabar, niekas nesugriaus pasaulio. Mano pasaulio, kurį pats sukūriau. Ir daviau vardą ultraetika. Ultraetiką pats sukūriau. Niekas nepaims dabar pasaulio, niekas nesugriaus pasaulio amžinai. Viso gero.
There's plenty to see and do in Amazon Games' New World as you level up your character to the max level of 60, but what about once you get there? There's plenty to do once you reach New World's in-game. Here's what you can expect once you reach the level cap, presented by New World. Similar to other MMOs, New World doesn't end when you reach max level. New World's endgame focuses on 4 different activities that are sure to steal your time away. There are other ways to explore the massive Isle of Aeternum, of course, but we're just going to focus on the modes that have been specifically designed for high-level players. The first in-game activities you'll likely take part in during your time with New World are expeditions. Similar to short missions like strikes and strongholds in Destiny and The Division, these instance multiplayer dungeons will pit a team of 3 to 5 players against some of the hardest PvE challenges in all of Aeternum. Some of these aren't necessarily in-game expeditions, as they feature lower level requirements and serve more as appetizers than the main course, but there are certainly some expeditions that are definitely for in-game players only. The Amrine Excavation Expedition, for example, only requires you to be level 25, but the Garden of Genesis, however, is a true in-game expedition as you must be level 60 if you want to have any hope of surviving what awaits you inside. There are going to be 5 or 6 expeditions in total when New World launches, but Amazon Games has only detailed these 2 so far. Once you've recruited your team for the dungeon, everyone should then determine the builds they'll use. After going through one of the expeditions ourselves, we recommend taking a dedicated healer and a DPS heavy melee fighter at least. From there, you can fill the group out as you like, though we'd recommend either a fire mage or a ranged attacker too. The Sacred Ground and the Beacon skill are a great pair for healers, and the Ice Gauntlet's Ice Pylon move, which places an automatic ice turret on the ground, and the Rapier's Fleche ability, which is a powerful knockback attack, are a good 1-2 punch for whoever's on the front line. The most important thing, of course, is to keep an open line of communication. Expeditions feature tough bosses and lots of minion enemies, not to mention some light puzzles. There are checkpoints scattered throughout each dungeon too, but making your way from one to the next can be a lot harder than you might expect without a plan of attack. When you're not exploring caverns and magical gardens during an expedition, you might be looking for another activity like Outpost Rush, where 2 teams of 20 compete to capture enemy forts to earn points and simultaneously push back opposing players before time runs out. The first team to 1,000 points wins, but there's more than just other players to watch out for. Each Outpost Rush map features multiple dens filled with traps and at least one NPC boss to face off against. It's well worth the risk though, as you'll need supplies like infused ore and infused wood to win the match. Resources found in match can be used to purchase summoning tokens in the armory, which can turn the tide of an Outpost Rush match. They allow players to quite literally summon what is the equivalent of a mini-boss into the map. If you're going off to scavenge for supplies though, you'll have to leave your defenses open, so make sure to coordinate with your teammates. Also, just as a note, everything collected in Outpost Rush stays in Outpost Rush, so don't expect your gathered resources to follow you back into Aeternum. The other PvE mode you'll likely spend a chunk of time on in New Worlds as in-game is Invasion. In Invasion, waves of corrupted enemies will attack a fort held by your faction, with each successive wave growing larger and stronger. Your goal as one of the 50 real-world players defending the fort is to stop the corrupted enemies from breaking down its gates and destroying your fort claim. All you need to do to win is stop the invaders from taking the fort's flag. That's easier said than done, of course, but not only do the waves of enemies get progressively more challenging, but respawn times between deaths get longer with each wave too. The more enemies you take out though, the more battle tokens you'll receive, which are critical to surviving the invasion as they allow you to purchase unique items from the armory, such as summoning tokens, potions, and more. War events are similar in format to Outpost Rush, but significantly larger in scale, and the final in-game activity we'll go over. War is how control of each territory is determined in New Worlds' various worlds, or servers. Every player in the game must select a faction to support around level 10. After doing this, basically everything you do will be in an effort to help your faction gain more control of the island, and war events are the culmination of that. Depending on how your faction, and their player-controlled companies, perform in the game world, each territory will be more or less vulnerable. Once a faction's hold on a territory weakens enough, other factions' companies can attempt to overtake it. One way for companies to weaken enemy faction territory is by completing PvP missions. This weakens their influence in a territory, and once that influence is weakened enough, the territory will find itself vulnerable to a war. However, in order for a war to actually happen, a company must declare war in the first place. Or, in other words, wars only happen when companies want them to. In a war event, up to 100 players, 50 from each faction, face off in a 30-minute battle over a disputed territory. Because of the nature of war, you can't just jump into one at any time. They literally happen when one company in the game attempts to overtake a territory controlled by an opposing faction's company. But we'll get to that in a minute. The goal of the attacking team is to first take control of all 3 capture points around the fort and then breach its walls. After entering the fort, they attempt to take its flag. If they can do that, the fort and the surrounding territory is placed under their control. The job of the defenders is, well, defend. Protect your faction's fort with everything you've got and keep the attacking team from capturing your flag. The winner at the end of a war battle gains control of the territory, which is key to progression in New World, because faction members get some awesome benefits while in territories controlled by their faction. Bonus XP, lower taxes, better deals at merchants. It's definitely in your interest to make sure your faction holds as much territory as it can. Hopefully this gives you a good idea of what to expect once you hit level 60. Be sure to check out our full New World guide for more tips and tricks, and for all your other video game needs, you're already in the right place. IGN.
So hopeless, and maybe I'm just the same. kartų neišėjo, realiai planas niekad nesustoja. Realiai planas nesustoja. Realiai planas, nors ir 100 kartų neišėjo, realiai planas niekad nesustoja. Mama okay, ne per greit, mano foto žmonos jau dedasi maidai. Tu sakei, be pavydo, bet tada už pavydėjai. Mano stamina okay, nebūname apkai. Porą posūkių į kiemą, 3 aukštas lyg namai. Jie žinotų, kas čia daros, jie turėtų pasikeisti. Elevate, mano mintis į kūrybą, todėl skurtus apdarai. Tu galėjai, bet kodėl nepadarai? Tai ką aš dariau, pasiėmė ir man neparašai. Ne okay, čia ne okay. Mes šypsomės prie baro, tyliai bandome išeit. Pasiėmė metų dainą, bet kokie dar pinigai. Kai ant scenos ima vietą, parsidavę per pigiai. Ne okay, čia ne okay, ne okay. Nors 100 kartų neišėjo, realiai planas niekad nesustoja. Realiai planas nesustoja. Realiai planas, nors 100 kartų neišėjo, realiai planas niekad nesustoja.
Dirbu dieną naktį, kad pasimti ko aš noriu. Visi šunys loja garsiai, kol aš niekad nenustoju. Mano moteris gražiausias pačios kelia savo kartelę. Nesupranta savo vertę, kaip parodo tikrą meilę. Ji kvaduoda telefoną, akis blizga nuo minoro. Niekad nebuvo eilinė, visi stebi ją iš šono. Mes vilkai šitam žaidimą turim sekantį ėjimą. Pasiruošę pakilimui, nes išlaukėme kritimą. Ei, kaip tu laikaisi šiandien? Pakilame už tai, kad čia šiandien. Jeigu klausi manęs, atsakau okei. Stoviu savo nakį stabiliai. Aš vartau žinutės ir nebereikia manęs, bet realiai viskas okei, nespėju jų prisileist. Užsidarė studijoj parom nešėjai. Neplanuoju dar kol kas iš jos išeit.
Nors ir 100 kartų neišėjo, realiai planas niekad nesustoja. Realiai planas nesustoja. Realiai planas, nors ir 100 kartų neišėjo, realiai planas. Mes darom iškarpo. Savaitį studijų užsidarėme iškarpo turų. Nelieka pliusų, iškarpo tūsų. Pozuoju finišą, lyg baltas ir atgal nežiūriu. Gali vėluot, bet nemeluot. Ant sienos studijai planai, krenta tiltai domino tarp mūsų. Kai nekeliu, nebepristo kompresų, krenkinu vokalus, gali manęs neieškot. Tik neieškok. Jie bėga tikrinti ar 8, nes pradėjo abejot. Kas dar miegot, non-stop, nemiegant gaunami džekpotų. Pirmą masterį tik gal suprato, neišeis sustot visam. Pirmas tai kas bam, kiekvienam naujam intervė vartam skaičių lyg vaikam. Studiu lygiam, lay down, savo trasį 100 šiam. Grindė niekad nesustojam, nes mes broliai visiem laikam. Nors 100 kartų neišėjo, realiai planas niekad nesustoja. Realiai planas nesustoja. Realiai planas, nors 100 kartų neišėjo, realiai planas niekad nesustoja.
100%.
Swallow my pride.
Kaip gerai, kad mano priešas čia. X faktorius, kaip gerai, kad mano priešas čia. Sveiki atvykę į ultravertiką. Ten, kuris faktorius, ten ultravertika. X faktorius ginklas pats padarys Roką. X faktorius pats padarys Roką ginklas. X faktorius ginklas pats padarys Roką. Ultraretika. Roko X faktorius. Roko pasaulis. Ultraretika. Roko pasaulis sugriautas, bet ultraretika yra. Ultraretika tai saulė. Gyvenu ultraretikoje. Ateiviai gal pasims mane. Ateiviai gal sukurs mane ultraretika. Ultraretika yra. Ultraretika tai naujas pasaulis. Ultraretika tai visata. Aš vaidinu ultraretikoje. Aš vaidinu ultraretiką. Rokas ultraretika. Mano filmas Ultraretika. Aš esu herojus. Rokas yra herojus. Ultraretika mano namai. Kaip yra matrica, tai čia Ultraretika. Roko sukurta Ultraretika. Ultraretika yra technologija, gyvenu technologijoje. Ultraretika yra technologija. Grįžau namo, toliau tęsiasi Ultraretika. Rokas gyvena kosmose. Ten, kur nėra žemės traukos ir laiko. Ultraretikoje. Rokas gyvena visatoje. Ten, kur nėra žemės traukos ir laiko. Ir pasaulyje nėra žemės traukos. Ultraretika. Pasaulis sugriautas, bet Ultraretika yra. Pasaulio pabaiga, bet Ultraretika yra. Tas vienintelis, liksiu vienas. Aš esu tas vienintelis. Pasaulio pabaiga, aš esu tas vienintelis gyvenantis Ultraretikoje. Ultraretika yra mano namai.
Always hold me down.